This story was never supposed to come out like this. Not this messy, not this detailed, and definitely not with this many people telling the same story in different rooms, on different continents, years apart, all pointing in the same direction. Because when 5 separate people who don't coordinate, who don't even like each other, all describe the same pattern, that's not gossip anymore, that's a trail. And the trail leads somewhere very uncomfortable for Harry and Meghan. Because what Tom Bower did in this book wasn't throw accusations, he lined up moments, decisions, financial, records, conversations, and patterns that start small and end in collapse. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. It keeps repeating over and over again across friends, family, staff, charities, and money.
I just thought this woman is really doing something quite dreadful to Britain, and Harry has fallen in love with her in a ludicrous way and has gone along as her accomplice.
That moment right there sounds like exhaustion, like someone who believes they tried and failed. But here's where things start to get uncomfortable, because Bower's book doesn't frame this as a love story under pressure. It frames it as a transformation, and not a quiet one either, a complete personality shift that people close to Harry started noticing early. And not just one person, not just palace gossip, but Camilla, William, Catherine, charity executives, brand auditors, all describing the same shift using different words. And the word Camilla allegedly used was brainwashed, which sounds dramatic until you see what she was actually pointing to. Because according to the book, Harry didn't just fall in love, he cut people off, changed his phone number without telling his family, stopped seeing old friends, began mirroring Meghan's opinions. Meghan's dislikes became his. Hatreds and the fun prince people knew suddenly became someone angry, isolated, and obsessed with proving something.
Harry and Meghan are going to be petrified about the idea of Tom Bower snooping back into their married life, right?
I realized how successful she'd been. Here was a woman who was nothing. I mean, born, broken family, the whole thing, unknown actress, all the rest of it, becomes a global star, which is what she wanted. When she was about 9 or 10, she said to her father, I want to be famous, I want to walk down the red carpet. And she has now done that. And she's calculated that she could be a great success, and by marrying Harry.
In some ways, he does despise his wife. I mean, we saw that on the recent Middle Eastern tour, when he was constantly rejecting her attempt at public displays of affection, because he knows that what she's doing is like ownership. It's not about love, it's not about affection, it's about ownership, and it's about showing the world who is in control, and he can't stand that.
And this is where the story stops being romantic and starts becoming strategic, because Bower describes something very specific, a sequence. And once you hear it, you'll start noticing it everywhere in this story. Isolation, control, collapse. And the scary part is that multiple people who never spoke to each other all described that exact same sequence, not the same words, the same sequence. First friends disappear, then advisors get bypassed, then family becomes the enemy, then the institution becomes oppressive, then the charity, the career, the money starts collapsing, and every time someone points out the problem, that person gets cut off too.
Well, you know, Piers, you're the first person to say how limited Prince Harry is, unfortunately, and how his wife trades off her husband's fame and fortune, or not so great fortune now. I mean, this is the problem, but we're still interested because, after all, he's a great character in our modern day.
Now, here's where it gets even more uncomfortable, because this didn't just stay inside palace walls. It followed Harry into his own charity, the one thing people believed was untouchable, his life's work, the thing that made him more than just a spare prince. And when a corporate finance lawyer named Dr. Sophie Chandoka did a brand audit across 50 organizations and donors, not 5, 50, and asked them one simple question: do you want to be associated with Prince Harry? The answer that came back was devastating, because the data showed his brand value had crashed, donors didn't want to be linked to the Netflix projects, and Meghan, according to the audit, had little brand value in America and was damaging Harry's global reputation. And imagine hearing that not from a journalist, not from a royal aide, but from the chairwoman of your own charity on a plane at 40,000 feet with nowhere to go and no one to shut the conversation down.
I think that's why he cuts quite a lonely figure, because his friends have all throughout his life do feel ostracized. He is just a bit of a lonely soul, where she's got her friends in America. He, though, is very much on his own, and I think it's quite sad.
And Harry's reaction to that moment tells you everything, because instead of asking for another audit, instead of asking how to fix the damage, he compared himself to Johnny Depp, a Hollywood actor who survived a court case and rebuilt his image, which shows you where his head was, not in the world of charity, not in the world of royal duty, but in the world of celebrity crisis management. And Chandoka's response was brutal in its simplicity. Times have changed. Donors don't want victims victimhood, they want a mission and they don't want Meghan attached to it. And just like that, the pattern repeats again. Because after that audit, after that conversation, after the numbers came in, the charity collapsed, Harry resigned, the co-founder resigned, the chairwoman who delivered the audit was gone, and the one place that was supposed to be safe from drama was suddenly gone too. And if you step back and look at the timeline, this is where the story stops looking like bad luck and starts looking like a chain reaction. Because every time someone brings bad news, that person disappears. Friends disappear, advisors disappear, family disappears, charity executives disappear. And even now with this book, instead of denying the specific claims, the response was to attack the author personally, call the book conspiracy, call it fixation, call it melodrama, anything except address the details, and that is the same move again. Not answer the message, remove the messenger. And once you see that pattern, you start to realize this story isn't about one argument, one interview, one documentary, one book. It's about a system, a pattern that keeps repeating. And the most disturbing part is that the people who noticed it first were inside the royal family years ago. And they all tried to warn Harry, and every single one of them ended up cut off. And the question that hangs over all of this, the one nobody wants to say out loud, is what happens when there's no one left to cut off? Because according to Bauer, the money is running out, the deals are shrinking, the charity is gone, Hollywood is turning, the royal family door is closing, and the only thing left now is Invictus and what Bauer claims he found there in Vancouver, involving empty seats, corporate complaints, and one moment with a veteran's wheelchair caught on camera, is the part of the story that turns this from a reputation crisis into something much darker. And once you hear that part, you won't look at those smiling Invictus photos the same way again. And this is where the story takes a turn that even people who were already skeptical didn't see coming. Because Invictus was supposed to be untouchable, it was Harry's last clean reputation space. The one thing nobody questioned. The one thing that made even his critics pause and say, at least he's doing something good. But according to Tom Bauer, what he uncovered in Vancouver changes the way you see that entire operation. Because behind the glossy photos and emotional speeches, there were empty seats, corporate sponsors quietly pulling back, and executives starting to complain. That the focus was shifting away from veterans and towards celebrity image. And when Canadian executives start using words like bling instead of rehabilitation, you know something has gone very wrong behind the scenes. Because Invictus was never supposed to be a red carpet. It was supposed to be recovery, and when those two things get mixed, donors start asking questions, and when donors start asking questions, money starts disappearing. And when money starts disappearing, reality arrives very quickly. And this is the part people don't understand about reputation. It doesn't collapse all at once, it collapses slowly. Then suddenly, first the big deals get smaller, then the smaller deals stop coming, then the invitations slow down, then the phone stops ringing, and according to Bauer, by the time they realized how serious the financial situation was, their lifestyle required at least $3 million a year just to maintain security and operations after tax. $3 million every year just to stand still, which means they can't afford a reputation problem, they can't afford donor fatigue, and they definitely can't afford brand damage. And yet the audit said the brand damage was already happening, and not quietly either, globally. And now we get to the part that explains why this book is causing so much panic. Because it's not just attacking Meghan, it's not just criticizing Harry, it's arguing that this entire situation followed a predictable pattern that multiple people recognized while it was happening. And the most dangerous part of the book is not any single accusation, it's the timeline. Because when you line up the timeline, Camilla's warning, William's concern, the Kensington Palace confrontation, the friend isolation, the phone number change, the brand audit, the charity collapse, the Hollywood deals, shrinking, the public victim narrative, the attacks on critics, when you line them up in order, it stops looking like coincidence and starts looking like a chain reaction. And the most telling moment in this entire story might actually be the simplest one. Because when the Sussex team responded to Bauer's book before it even came out, they didn't deny the brand audit, they didn't deny the charity conflict, they didn't deny the donor concerns, they didn't deny the isolation claims, they attacked Tom Bauer personally, called him obsessed, called the book conspiracy, called it melodrama, and PR experts immediately said that was a mistake. Because when you attack the author but don't deny the details, people assume the details are true or close enough to true. to hurt, and the result was the exact opposite of what they wanted. Because before the book even hit shelves, it went to #1 on Amazon, which means the attempt to shut the story down actually amplified it globally. So now the situation looks like this. The royal family relationship is reportedly beyond repair. William and Harry allegedly don't speak. The charity that defined Harry's public identity is gone. Hollywood deals are declining. Donors are hesitant, and the only thing holding the entire structure together right now is public image. And public image is the one thing that collapses fastest when the narrative changes. And according to Bauer, the narrative is already changing because the criticism is no longer coming just from royal insiders or British press. It's coming from Hollywood, executives, charity auditors, and even the same progressive circles that once defended them. And when your own audience starts turning, that's when public figures start to panic because there's no new audience left to win. And this is why the ending of this story doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a pause before something bigger happens, because if the money keeps shrinking, the deals keep shrinking, the reputation keeps shrinking, and the royal door stays closed, eventually a decision has to be made. And Tom Bauer's book keeps hinting at that decision without ever saying it directly, because the real question at the center of this entire saga isn't whether the royal family was right or wrong, or whether Meghan is misunderstood or manipulative, or whether Harry is a victim or a willing participant. The real question is, what happens when a prince who gave up everything realizes the new world he chose is starting to close in on him too? Because history shows that when royal exiles run out of money, run out of allies, and run out of options, they don't disappear quietly, they do something dramatic. And if Bauer is right, we are now at the part of the story where the pressure becomes unbearable, the walls start closing in, and the next move, whatever it is going to be the one that decides how this entire story ends, or whether it ever really ends at all.